I ask you a question. Do most women, say this for Grace, do most women know how to treat and keep an exceptional man?
Here's okay. Let's get into it, child. One thing. Okay, I want to go back, and this is something with you guys. So we did Invest Fest, and I was a part of Invest Fest. Thank y'all so much for having me. But y'all had a dinner after, right? And I remember because I'm in this dating space now. I said every girl in this room is gorgeous. Like it was like I don't know if the requirement was you had to be the most beautiful girl to be invited, but every girl in the room, I was like, these are all tens, like beautiful and a lot. So going back to your just know how to keep, I will say this. There's a lot of women who are married to what we consider exceptional men. And I always tell women, if become friends with those wives because they're never going to really share with you on social media what they're dealing with, but they might be dealing with things that you might not be willing to deal with for the greater good. Now, I don't want to, I don't want to use famous couples in particular, but I think we all live in a space where we know women who are married to what we will all consider exceptional men, attractive millionaires, and behind closed doors, there's things going on that they'll never talk about on social media, right?
Yeah.
So I try to give insights, and the best way I give insight with that is become friends with those wives. Learn the truth of what they're dealing with to keep that type of man, right? So, Ian, I will say no. I will say that most women do not know the requirements that come on my show. Let me say that come on my show don't really know the requirements that come along with this man they say they want. And I think one of the things they disregard a lot of is a lot of energy of he cheats, he goes out. A lot of times the woman is coming for your man. Like, you might have a guy who ain't even looking for it, but women are ruthless and they will come for your rich, fine, accessible man because they don't give a shit about you. All they care about is what they can benefit. So I hate to keep the man line, but if we're going to talk about this type of man you guys are describing, I don't think a lot of women that call me know the reality of what it's going to take. But how about this? We have, without giving all the secrets, what are some of the things you think women should know if they want a man like that?
A man like what?
A man that we consider exceptional, a part of the 10 or 1% category, attractive, has money, moves around. What should these women know?
9 times out of 10, because you can't speak. There's always going to be exception to the rule.
Yeah, it's going to be exceptions.
Right.
9 times out of 10, you're not going to be a normal person mentally. Meaning, if you reach the level of success, like you got to understand, it's almost impossible to reach a certain level of success as a black man. Like you become a millionaire, you become whatever, like you become a successful entrepreneur. Like that's damn near impossible. What you had to go through to get to that is not normal. You had to deal with family, you had to deal with relationships, you had to overcome this, you had to go broke, you had to bet on yourself, you had to stay up to 5 o'clock in the morning, you had to travel across the country, you had to have sleepless nights, you had to battle depression, you had to go through all of that. You're not a normal person mentally. That's important for people to understand, because it's like a lot of times when you're with these people, you don't think that, but these people they might be introverts, they might be insecure, they might not even want to speak to nobody. Like, you got to be able, I think somebody has said this to us, you got to be able to almost be their therapist. Like, you know what I mean? Like, a lot of times people are there for just the ride. They're there because they see somebody is successful and they want the fruit of that labor, but they never want to pour into that person. They never want to pour into that person, right? Because it's like you see a lot of these celebrities and they have issues, and you're like, why this person got issues? Like, he's rich or they rich. But it's like you don't understand mentally what they had to go through. And nobody ever wants to pour into the rich person. There's no sympathy for the king
at all.
Like, you know what I'm saying? It's like everybody's trying to get something from that person to better their life. But it's like, I think going into that situation, you should go into it with a giver's mentality, with a listening mentality, with an understander's mentality of like, what have you gone through? How can I help you? Like, how can we unpack certain things like in your life? Like, how can I make this better? How can I make your life better? And just sometimes that type of person is not going to ask for help because they had to go through so much that they don't feel comfortable asking for anything. So it's on you to actually be a good observer and do things for a person without them actually asking for it. The appreciation that somebody will have for you when you do something for them without them asking for it is probably the highest level of appreciation ever, especially somebody that very few people actually ever think about doing something for. Nobody, like, you think of charity, you think about people that's less fortunate. Nobody ever thinks about doing something for somebody that's fortunate, right? But
Yeah, it's rare.
people that are fortunate, they need help too.
Right.
Facts. And a
Can
bunch
I
of
jump
areas
in?
too.
So I
Of
think
course.
those are all, I think that's good insight, right? I have a lot of women who are willing to be that type of woman to their man. Does attraction matter? Does she have to be able to do that and be attractive?
For sure.
Attraction is the number one thing when it comes to human. Like when we were first put on earth, right? Like we are attracted to people. That's a
Mhm.
now
It's carnal.
I think you can learn to love somebody and not physically, and they're not the top 10 for you. You see that all the time, especially with women.
Yeah.
You guys, I don't think looks matter for women, right?
No, I think I no, because when I get attractive guys on the show, they get. I mean, attractive and money is jackpot. But sometimes attraction still will pull the women in further than the money. I've had men
For
who
sure.
had money, but because they didn't have swag, couldn't really pull the women all the way. So I'm gonna say for women, like I literally had a guy who was out of jail. He got my Facebook page banned. He was out of jail. He had a gun. This is a true story. He had a gun behind him. He had weed behind him. Crazy stuff. I didn't even put his contact info because he was so crazy. The women were hitting me up like, yo, what was his contact? I'm like, yo, you're gonna die with this man. What are you talking about? So no, I have to
Bad
say,
boy vibes. Women love danger.
That's a
but
fact.
but but Rashad, the reason I brought up attraction is because when I asked you what type of qualities get that type of man, you led with characteristic. But the truth of the matter is, if she's not attractive and has that characteristic, she doesn't have a shot. And
Yes, you're
this
right.
is what
You're right. You're right.
You're right.
right. And that's the part we can't negate because I got a lot of women who have those characteristic qualities, but I'm not sure if she will fit your attraction qualities. So really, you want the attractive girl to then act like that. Now, this is where it gets tricky because the girl that's attractive, she got a lot of options too. She got a lot of like she's moving. If you liked her, that means there's a lot of other men that liked her because it took a lot for you to say, you know what? I think you're dope. You're not the only guy that's feeling that way.
But you know what? Also, you bring up a good point. This is a good conversation because what happens also is it's a pretty girl syndrome. When pretty girls, they've been pretty much their whole life.
Their whole
Yeah.
So
life.
by the
Yeah.
time they get to like 14, they're already being courted, right? And guys are already going out of their way to do whatever they want for them, right? So they never really had to do much as far as like be
The effort.
considerate and pour into somebody, and they never so you got to cultivate
Those
skills in life,
skills.
right? You got to cultivate skills in life. They never had to learn how to cook. They never had to learn how to actually sit and have a conversation that's deeper than just some bullshit, because they've almost been objectified as like a Christmas tree ornament, right?
Mhm.
That's detrimental to them because at some point in time, your looks are going to start to fade and you're going to get older and you don't have any real substance. It's detrimental to the guys because, like you said, if a guy's looking for just a pretty girl, they're going to get a pretty girl that's super shallow a lot of time, not all the time,
Yeah.
because so now it's a cycle of dysfunction. And
Right.
like you said, the women, the good women,
Mhm.
sometimes if they're not attractive, they're gonna get overlooked by that guy. But there is somebody for everybody, so they'll connect with a
That's a
certain person.
lie. Why do we say that? You know, everybody doesn't get a romantic partner.
Most people don't move around enough and improve themselves enough to get that partner, though.